Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing okay this morning as I record this. Should you challenge really difficult, intrusive thoughts? The conventional wisdom is in a lot of psychology, health circles, is that yes, you should absolutely challenge these thoughts. If you have success with doing that and you're happy doing that, you feel it's working for you, please do continue. But I'm guessing if you're watching this video, if the title appealed, perhaps you're not having as much success or you're finding it a bit of a battle. So a short answer is no, I don't recommend my clients challenge these really unpleasant, intrusive, often graphic thoughts that come into the mind for a number of different reasons. So that's what this video is all about. What you can do instead of, why not challenge them, why we shouldn't challenge them, and then obviously what we can do instead. So intrusive thoughts are those really graphic, sometimes they can be violent, they can be obsessive thoughts, they are different for everyone, they come into the mind, they're very hard to let go of, very disturbing, and they cause a lot of stress for people, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame around them because they feel like they're a bad person for having some thoughts, sometimes violent thoughts, sometimes thoughts just they can't let go of these catastrophizing worries about losing a job, about health anxieties, again, different for everyone. Now, often a lot of people in health circles will say challenge these thoughts because they're not based in reality. And so you have to go into battle to fight them off. Now, I understand the premise behind that because it's true to a certain extent that these thoughts aren't your real thoughts. They're not based in reality, absolutely. The problem is if we go into battle with them, we start to challenge them and get involved with them, we start to unpick them, analyze them, is this true? What's the real part of this thought? What's not real? Then we start to get involved in it. And we're already then on the back foot because if our nervous system is activated, our stress response is activated, our flight or fight response is activated, we've got surges of adrenaline, a slow drip of adrenaline in our body that's priming us to react to these thoughts, trying to think about them, analyze them, work them all out, have a conversation with them can just add more tension to tension and keep the loop going. Whereas if we, through our greater understanding, realize that these thoughts aren't serious, they're just anxious thoughts, as unpleasant as they are, as difficult to deal with as they are, they're absolutely not serious. They're actually not what you really think or believe. They're thoughts that have come into the brain at a time in your life where you're particularly sensitized. So I'll take an example of an intrusive thought you have while watching TV. What if something bad happens to me? So that's the intrusive thought. And they usually begin with what if? What if I do something bad? What if something bad happens to me? Sitting on my couch, my nervous system is already tired, fatigued, sensitized because of all the stress that's accumulated over the weeks, months, and years, whether you're aware of it or not, that's what's happened. And suddenly you might see an image on the TV, you might see something graphic on the news, and suddenly the thought comes in, well, gee, what if something happens to me? And instantly in that moment, because your body is primed to look out for danger, it's learned to do this over the years, it instantly reacts and it sends a surge of adrenaline and you feel a bit of dread. Because you have a negative feeling at the time the thought comes in, you start to take the thought seriously, whereas all you're really doing is reacting to the adrenaline. You're actually just reacting to the uncomfortable feeling, but you think the thought has meaning. And that's why it's important not to, at least in my view, not to engage in the thought. Now, we don't want to run from the thought. We don't want to pretend it's not there. If we understand through the reasons I've just explained that anxiety, these intrusive thoughts, although unpleasant, are not serious, they're not your real thoughts, they've just come in at a time in your life that you're particularly sensitized. That's why everyone has different intrusive thoughts, because it depends where they were at, what they were doing, what they were observing, listening to at the time. If we know all this, we can just allow them to come up, do their thing, but not focus on them. So allowing thoughts doesn't mean we allow them to to go unchecked in our mind. We just allow them to surface and then we do something else instead. So I've got plenty of other videos on floating, letting it all happen. And so what we do is we can just anchor ourselves in the body. So as soon as we get a what if, particularly intrusive what if, we go, this is just the adrenaline that's making me scared. It's okay. Unpleasant, it's not serious. We can slow down our talking, walk slower, breathe slower, do the opposite of what the body wants you to do. What wants you to do. The body's trying to say, this is serious, Sam. Get involved in it. Think your way out of the situation. Challenge it. Get involved in the thought. Work it out. Why is it happening? Don't need to do any of that because we now know what it is. We've demystified what's happening. For many people, they don't really understand what's happening, and so they try and work it all out. They try and challenge it. But as I'm sure many of you know, it just leads to more worry pathways, more what ifs. And we start to create more what ifs based on the original intrusive thought. So if we can nip it at the bud by accepting that it's there, accepting it's just a thought, a collection of letters, words into sentences that have no meaning, we can then ground ourselves in our body, slow down, and eventually at some point, the more we slow down without trying to get rid of any thoughts, without trying to fight them off, the adrenaline that's fueling the negative feeling associated with the thought will dissipate and you'll get relief. That's why people like Dr. Claire Weekes in her work talk about letting time pass. I'll talk about that in another video, but we'll always get relief from how we feel. You always have done in the past if you think about it. So we're just allowing the thoughts to do their thing and eventually they'll burn themselves out. And that's all we have to do. So I talk about this method in other videos if you want more information, but I hope that gives you a bit of reassurance and a bit more understanding as to why challenging these intrusive thoughts can actually keep the cycle going. I wish you all the very best. Take care.